Hi, everyone. I am here with Dr. Christen Scott and so excited to interview her about being a multidimensional healer, a therapist, a grief counselor, and a plant medicine guide. That just came to me. Um, you're going to be doing that if you're not already. So it's fine. And there's so much we can talk about here. I'm really excited. Um, So I'm going to start with saying, well, thank you for being here and thank you for being part of my life. I just love you so much. And Tell us a little bit about how you got into being in this path, the path of service that you're on now, as a multidimensional healer and therapist and future plant medicine guide.
Okay. And I'm so happy to be here too, Gia. I love you too. I, I became a clinical psychologist when 1999 is when I got my doctorate in clinical psychology, and I was going down that path where I was a therapist, and I was actually working in that area, the DC sort of Maryland area.
DPW?
No, I went to University of Hartford in Connecticut. I'm originally from New England, but
Oh,
I did my internship, my pre-doctoral internship at Rika Rockville, which is actually
oh, Rika?
yeah, yeah,
No,
that's
I
right.
know Rika.
Yeah.
So oh my God, I used to work at, I can't believe this. How's this not come up? I actually used to work at Chestnut Lodge Hospital. Are you,
Yes. Yes.
and so
Very
like the
familiar.
kids that like couldn't make it in Chestnut Lodge would get sent to Rika and they talk
Right.
about it all the time. They'd be like, you're getting
Yep.
sent to Rika, like you better
Rika.
get it together. Like, don't go to Rika. Like it was like that. Like, so
Yeah,
I
and
know it
my
was
kids
rough.
and my caseload was the guys, the 16-year-old boys.
That's
Like,
who
I
I
mean,
worked with,
yep,
the
yep,
inpatient acute unit, 11 to
yep.
18 year olds.
Yep.
More things in common. That is
That's so
wild.
crazy.
In
That's so wild.
1999, by the way, is when I
Yeah,
was doing it.
that's wild because I mean, those guys, those were people that were really acting out. Like they were acting out
Oh,
all
yeah.
of
Oh, yeah.
everything that they took on from family, from generational, from
100%.
ancestral, like everything. And I was just drawn to it. And that was pretty much my caseload. And then I ended up going into private practice, working with like that sort of clientele for a long time and working with families. And so anyway, so I was working as a psychologist, and really what got me, I mean, I've always been interested in not like the non-traditional, because when you work with teenagers you're always working non-traditionally. I mean, I was working non-traditionally, that's why it worked. And so I got basically what happened was I got into yoga for myself. Like I started practicing yoga and I was seeing more transformation in yoga in myself than I ever did in traditional psychotherapy. And I started bringing in that and started really learning yoga and bringing yoga into the sessions, mindfulness, meditation, animal cards. Like I would be doing medicine cards with my clients and all sorts of things like that. So I guess like since the beginning, I've sort of been, tapping into that multidimensional, that other work. And I'm trying to think. Like, eventually, I ended up closing my practice, moving to South Florida, opening a yoga studio with my husband because I wanted to work with people in a bigger way, in a more holistic way, and I felt like
When did you get into yoga? When did you become a yoga teacher? I'm just curious if we have more commonalities on like, I became a yoga teacher in 2004.
I got into yoga in 2000. No, 2003 is when I got into, that's when I really started practicing like
Yep.
consistently.
Uh-huh.
And I did my yoga teacher training in 2006, 2007.
Okay.
And I did it in DC. I did it at Down Dog Yoga, which was a Baptiste
Oh, I'm
studio.
familiar. I did it at DC Yoga. Do you remember
Okay.
DC Yoga on DuPont Circle?
Yes, yes.
It was right under
Yeah.
the Bikram studio.
Yes, yes,
And we were the
yes.
most like Tamasic studio. And like they were the most Rajasic studio above us. And there was like no Sapa. It
That's so
was
wild.
so funny. It was like these two like juxtapositions, and we would hear them like screaming at people in the mic.
Yeah.
And me just doing like Shataka, like staring, like gazing at candles and like not moving.
That's so funny. That's so awesome. I love that. I can't believe that. Well, I mean, we had no idea all of
Right. Like we
this
crossed paths so many times.
so many times, so many times.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think. I closed my studio in 2000. I mean, I closed my practice in 2000. 10 and I moved down to South Florida in 2011 and I opened the studio in 2012 and I had the yoga studio here for 7 years. During the yoga studio I also became Reiki attuned and I did my Reiki 1 and my Reiki 2. I did my Reiki master during COVID. And that was huge. That was a big change for me. I have to say Reiki 1 and 2 was amazing, but Reiki
Reiki
master,
Master was my big shift too. But
yeah.
now the way I teach it, I feel like Reiki 2 is people's big shift, like when they go to my
Mm,
program. But for me, it was Reiki Master. Really funny. What do you need?
yeah.
Just that there's all of that commonality. And you know what's interesting? In 2012, a lot of people thought the world was going to end because of the Mayan calendar. Do you remember that?
I
At
do
all?
remember that. I do.
Yeah, and like it didn't, obviously, but I felt like so many of us did these like big things. So in 2012 for me, I did my 500-hour teacher training.
Okay.
I got married. I quit my corporate job. You opened a yoga studio. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like
Yep.
2012 was big things happening for a lot of us who are on this path now. And when I
Interesting.
talk to people, I hear it. Like you just said, oh, and in 2012, I moved, I opened a yoga studio, and it's like it
I
was
got married. I got
you got
married in
married?
2012. I
We
got
both
married
got
in
married.
2012.
Of course we did. I
Yes.
I got married
Yes.
in April.
Yeah, and I
So
got married in July.
nice.
That's crazy.
It is. Okay, so you're in Florida. It's
So I'm in
2012.
Florida in
Oh no,
2012.
20, no, you're 2020 now.
And then
During
2020, I did
COVID,
my
getting
my Reiki master and really started getting into Reiki in a bigger way than I ever would have thought. I mean, I really felt like it changed. I felt like wide open. Like I just felt like I came into my being like in such a different way with the Reiki master. And
Mhm.
and then like things really started to shift for me after Reiki Master. Like there was a peacefulness about me. There was like I was able to witness things from a different perspective. I wasn't so anxious, so go, go, go. It was like my way of being. And
Mhm.
then I would say the next big one was yeah, and that was 2020. Wow. So then Preston, so my husband, he transitioned out of his physical body. It was November 26th, so tomorrow was 4 years of 2021, the day after Thanksgiving, and that was a portal into a whole new world. Like that really was like the next big opening for me.
Mhm.
And then that's what really led me to doing more of the multidimensional and like I connected with you and I just started communicating more with the other side. And I had already had little blips like that, like with my dog and with a friend of mine, Joy. But when Preston like transitioned out, it was like boom, immediately that night, like he was coming to me in a really strong way.
Wow. Wow. Usually our awakenings do come around birth and death. Like the transition
Mm,
of the portal into and out of Earth seems to be something that is part of a lot of our soul agreements with other people. Like
mm-hmm,
shift when my dad transitioned, it didn't like activate me at that level, but it was also
mm-hmm.
2005 and I was like heavy matrix like partying hard
Yep.
but it did like shake me like out of that
Mm-hmm.
and put me on a different path. I wasn't quite ready to like channel. But
Right,
I was not
right,
doing like terrible things anymore to myself.
right. Yeah.
So that's good. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so it's interesting how that kind of occurs. And then was it that also had you start to explore healing of grief and expansion of your light body with plant medicine?
Yes, yes, yes. So once it's interesting because about a month before he transitioned, I was exploring like ayahuasca was coming to me, and I had never done psychedelics. I mean, I had worked with cannabis, but none of the like
Not
mushrooms,
like a,
psilocybin,
yeah,
LSD, none of the true, the
right, the
heavier
real trip. haven't really tried
So
any balls before.
exactly,
Um,
exactly. And he had, and we had this conversation, and he's like, if you want to go there, good luck. He's like, because I'm not going there again. And I had already, it's like the plant was already calling me. And then after he had transitioned, I like then it was really calling because I had some friends that went down to Costa Rica and been and done some of the ceremonies, and I was like, this I'm really like feeling like because like I had yoga, I had meditation, I had prayer, I had all of this, but I still felt like the grief was heavy on me. And I felt like there is something that's gonna open up this like I felt like there was this anguish that I was experiencing that I knew I didn't really like. It was like I don't know, like it felt like something else was going to like open that up so that I could expand out of that. And then that's what
right.
drew me into the plants.
Okay. And what happened there? I mean,
Well, it was about 9 months. And so during like the time after Preston transition, I was definitely using cannabis and it was helpful. It was super helpful with connecting to him. Like it
mhm.
just dropped the veil and allowed me to connect. But I would say that 9 months later is when I did my first plant medicine ceremony. And it was with some heart medicine, which is kind of like a plant-based MDMA and
What plant is that?
sassafras.
That's gross.
It's some
You told me that
sassafras and
before, but I
some,
forgot. Yeah.
yeah, it's sassafras and canna actually. And then there's some ayahuasca, and I think it's like some psilohuasca. So some of what's used is some psilocybin with the ayahuasca.
Oh,
But first of all, the plant, the sassafras, like it was like my heart opened and I felt like myself again. Gia, it was like, oh, like I literally had my hands on my heart and I was like, here I am. Because I felt like the grief had just put this blanket
like,
over me
oh, like,
where
yeah.
and it was like all I could do was hold my heart and be like, oh my God, here I am. Like I'm back,
Yeah.
And I think what that medicine does is it enhances who you truly are. And so some people don't even, a lot of people will be like, I'm not feeling anything. I'm not feeling anything. And I'm like, no, you're feeling you. That's why you don't know it's you because
Yeah.
it's like an enhanced you.
Uh-huh.
And that was really like I did more work with that over the next 2 years, was that with that heart medicine. But I had also worked with the ayahuasca, and that really just opened up a lot of, I really think, channels for Preston coming through and messages coming through. Um, right away I saw the ayahuasca like animals, like the serpent came to me, the jaguar, like they were like right away, and it was almost like hello, like welcome, like here you are,
Yeah.
like it literally was like
Waiting for
it took
you.
you this long, but like thank you,
Yeah.
thank you for, for coming.
Yeah. I love that.
It was really awesome.
Yeah. And so that's been something that opened you up even more. And were you able to like actually interface with Preston like while you were under the medicine?
Yeah. Yeah. Every time like that I've wanted to, I've been able to. The first time right away, literally the first time I felt like he was holding me. It was like this clear, sentient feeling where he was literally, I was in his arms and
Wow.
he was just, and a lot of it was like to me, it was like a clear cognizant. It wasn't a hearing him. It was like a knowing in my
Mhm.
being that was coming through. And it was right away the message came through and he was like, this was to release you. Um
Wow.
and and this was a soul contract. I mean, he literally was able to tell me everything and why he transitioned. I mean, it was so much
Well,
like
and
that
how,
first
right?
ceremony.
I remember when we
Yeah.
started working together, like I had gotten that hit for you to sit with him and like let him show you how he transitioned.
Yes.
And that,
Yes.
that I remember you like telling me what that was like, and it just was like so incredible, so powerful, like it's wild. Like you were actually like
Very.
feeling what he felt, right? Like
I
you were like,
literally felt what he felt, like what was happening in his body. Like I remember I was telling you because like I mean, my drooling, like what was happening it
yeah,
was just absolutely it was connected. It gave me a knowing that like a
yeah.
lot of people want to know, it's like what happened?
Right.
Why did it
This was also
happen?
like a died suddenly situation
Yes. Oh
in
yeah, yeah.
2021.
Yep.
So, we'll just leave it at
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
so that this
Yeah.
actually gets played on YouTube.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, there were also like people don't know, like when someone dies and they're young and they're a yoga teacher and they're, you know what I mean? Like they're fit and active and healthy. Like you are like, what the hell? Like
Yep. Yep.
it's such a like shock, right? And it's so perplexing. So for you to actually be able to like sit with him and get that insight is so incredible.
It was so incredible because you're right. That's part of what happened. I was experiencing so much trauma. Like that's what people would be like, your grief. And I'd be like, listen, I didn't even touch the grief for a couple of years because I was so traumatized. He died in front of me. It was a heart
Right.
attack. It was out of nowhere. Like
Yep.
this is a person that I
Yep.
just owned a studio with. Like we
Yeah.
did life together. We had
Yeah.
community together. It was like this. And
Yeah.
so it was really important for me to, understand what first energetically on a soul level, what happened, but then what literally
Like
happened
what
in his
actually happened.
body.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It
Come
was
down.
huge.
Yeah. And then how did that, like, it's interesting you were saying how you could feel him and like holding you because, and like when you're talking about your experiencing what he experienced in his transition, because I know when you have channeled, like, so you went through my program. And so when we did the channeling workshop, I remember you being so visceral, like compared to
Mm,
other students. Um, I mean, obviously, all of you are freaking amazing and lit. It's like you came in super lit to start with. Like you were already like, wow.
hmm.
So that made my job really easy. But when you were channeling, I remember you being like, now I know what it feels like to whatever it is, like whatever, oh, to ride a dragon, to breastfeed or whatever. You were
Yes.
like, oh my
Yes.
God, like I felt what it actually feels like
Yes.
legitimately in my body.
That's so interesting. That's so interesting because after some of my plant medicine experiences, I do have some like visceral somatic experiences,
Right.
like really, and that happens like I do have a lot of that. Like it really comes out in a body in a somatic sort of way
Right.
for
It's
me. I
really
totally
embodied.
forgot about that. Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's what I mean, I was just kind of drawing the parallel as you were talking about it. Like,
Yep.
this
Yep.
is a gift you've had for a long time. It feels like.
Yeah.
You were
Yeah,
just
you're right.
sharing it with me. Because you were already did this, like with the medicine. I'm sure the medicine helped you like sort of get a better understanding of your own spiritual gifts too. And like,
Yeah.
and what do you think it is about being under the plant medicine that helps so much with the grief? Do you think that it's oh, and by the way, with the heart medicine, what you were saying, in sessions, I often see in people's heart chakra, like the skin grown over top of it,
Mm.
and like spirit
Mm.
asking me to like help remove that and open
Right.
that crystal diamond heart up for that person again so that it's
Mm.
filled and connected with. So it was really
Yeah.
interesting how you describe that because I actually see that quite often.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, I
That
think
really
it
makes
helps
sense.
too. I think we have to protect our heart sometimes to survive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I also
Yeah.
wonder, it was a heart attack
Yeah.
that he
Yeah.
had. So I wonder how much that like connects with what you experienced,
Yeah.
like in your
Yeah.
own
In
heart.
my own heart. Yeah, I mean, it felt like it was, I mean,
You
I remember that ache, like that heart ache, like truly the physical pain. I had no idea grief could be so physical. But for me, as we're having this conversation, it's like it was such an embodied experience for me.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's interesting that it was a heart attack. I think the reason the plants have such an impact on grief is I mean, for me, it was more the heart medicine. And I think it's because um, it opened up the heart again. Like I was able to reconnect with the truth of who I was, to get back into that heart space. But I also think it gives you can see life from your heart. So there's clarity from the heart instead of from the head. And so you have an understanding of like, oh, this makes sense. Like why he died. Like all of this makes sense. Like all of because it's kind of like it's seeing the world through your heart, and that's so different than seeing it through, through our brain.
Minds, our head.
Yep.
I think one
Yep.
other reason too, and this is just because I don't have the level of plant medicine experience that you have. I feel like
Hmm.
I was way more into like synthetic drugs that don't really
Hmm.
do it all. Um, so just I was just rolling on. I was just into more of the self-destructive
Right.
vibe. I mean, mushrooms for a couple times, but still
Right.
wasn't like in that same intention.
Hmm.
But I think part of it must be that you get such a real feeling of like whether it's deities or
Yes.
whether it's symbols, whether it's an actual loved one in spirit, right? That like it feels like, you know what, this is real. Like
Yes.
I'm not making this up.
Right.
They're not
Right.
really gone. We don't ever die. Like I do feel like it gives people that peace. Like, and I could be wrong, but that's like what I feel like people can get from it.
Yes, yes, you're absolutely right. Because that, well, what they say is that default operating network in our brain, like it sort of like kind of like puts it on pause so that you're able to um like take things in as though it is reality. And it is
Mhm.
reality. Like like when we know that this like this computer is energy and you start seeing it move, you're like, oh yeah, it is energy, because that part of the brain that's seeing it as solid is no longer there. So it's like, well, what else do I sometimes? You're absolutely right. I think that's a huge, huge part, because we do start to see things differently, and we're able to say like, oh, I know that rationally. Now I'm able to actually see it. And
Right.
so I think you're absolutely, I think you're right
It
on.
like lets you see beyond the veil and like especially
Yep.
because usually it's done in groups. Hi Kim, hi Pam, hi Julie. Our buddies are here. Um so oh hi Andy. Andy's here too. Um I just saw that. So I feel like they're often done in group environments too, and then other people are seeing similar things. So that's going to allow you like a corroborating witness.
Yes.
So you're not
Yes.
just like, oh, I'm just tripping. Like it's like, oh, everybody's seeing this, or, other
Hmm.
people are having experiences that can back this up for me so that I can prove to myself because we have amnesia when we come in and we don't realize that like this is just a stop along the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, I could
Absolutely.
say all that, but I don't have it. We've talked about it before and you've done insights for me. Like, I don't have that level of embodiment either. Maybe it's because I haven't like done that plant medicine. I've been busy doing my barfing pregnancy purges instead
Right.
for that period
Right.
of time. And I guess maybe the other things will come in the future when I'm less occupied with this,
Yeah.
and not breastfeeding probably.
Right. Right.
Because that probably isn't super compatible. I don't know.
Exactly.
Maybe it
Yeah.
is. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
So people will be like, "Oh my God, report her." No, I'm joking. I would not do it. But anyway, so I think there's something there about like really knowing it in your body, like in with your eyes, with your feels, like, and not
Yeah.
having to guess or hope.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I think that's really, I think that really is true. I think it's really true. And I think it can be so, so helpful. I'd say it catapulted my grief experience, like my healing, like like so much, so much. I mean, the fact that we're
Yeah.
coming up tomorrow on 4 years, I'm like, what? 4 years? Like, I mean, that's pretty cool. That's not that long ago. And I feel like my life is like, completely
So different.
transformed. Yeah.
Right. So like when you said Reiki Master in 2020, and like I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like you just started doing all this? Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I thought you'd been doing it like forever. So it's
Yeah.
just interesting
Yeah.
to see how fast it can all happen when like the time is right. Everyone's
Right.
path is
Right.
different and like some people wake up like on a slow burn and their gifts come like little trickles. And some people like wait and wait and then just like all rushes in the portal all at once. And there it
Yeah.
is,
Yeah. Yeah.
like in your
Yep.
body. Like I have it
Yeah.
all now, like, and that's amazing. So, I do think that there's just something to that, like, belief or hope. I think a lot of times people are so resistant about like maybe channeling their loved ones or connecting in that way because they can't believe it could be true. like it's
Yeah.
too much to like hope for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I
I
know
think you're
I've
right.
often felt that way, like when people will bring something from my dad and I'm just like, okay, but even though I do it
Yeah.
for a living for other people all the time, every day.
Yes. Yes.
But like for me, it's too hard to like conceptualize or something, or the pain is too close, or you know what I mean? Like it's just like there's something different when it's your own experience with grief. That's like it's just different, you
It
know?
is different. It is different, but it's interesting because the night that Preston died, the day he died, that night I was sitting here and I was like, and we used to watch mediums and all this stuff, and I was like, I need a sign. I need a sign. And like something came through and it was a clear sign. And I was like, all right, that was good, but I need another sign. Like I was like, I need another sign. And then it was like, boom, it was like this song came on and it said, You're Never Alone. And it was from the album. It was like From Deep in the Field. And I was like, okay, I got you. But it's
We
so
do that
funny because
too. We're like, we
I,
need a sign, and we get a sign. We're like, not that sign. We need another sign. No, 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 that's not a good enough sign. How about one more sign, spirit? And that spirit's like, shut up.
I
Cut it
know.
out. You're cut off. Like,
It's so funny. And I laughed when it happened too. And I was like, because that's so, it's like, no, I need one more. You know me. I was like, you know me, you got to hit this over my head.
so good.
Okay.
And though, let's pull it all together though. Like plants, grief, multidimensional healing, and the grief work that you do. Like, can you speak a little bit on how you bring it all together to support others and like, where you are in your path of service? Pam wants a card. She's first.
Okay.
But tell us
Um,
first. Pull it all
well,
together for us.
Well, I think what happened was once I did the multidimensional healing with you and did all of that, it just what I did is I sort of created this multidimensional grief healing sort
Right.
of
So
experience
cool.
session. And what it is it incorporates my understanding of grief because I've done a lot of reading on grief
Yeah.
just as a psychologist and like what my experience is, but also using, channeled messages. And it may be from loved ones in spirit, maybe from angels, your higher being.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Doesn't
necessarily,
matter.
it doesn't
Yeah.
really matter, but there are messages that come through. And it's a kind of a combination of like me, it's like Kristen, the psychologist, the person that's experienced grief, as well as like, the multidimensional healer, and sort of pulls it all together. And every session is completely different. And sometimes even the plants, like I might get like messages. I use the plants are part of my prayer. I always call the plants in because the
Yeah.
mycelium is like
Oh,
there's
that's
so much knowledge
and it's a
there.
network into infinity.
So I use them as a way. I mean, a lot of times it's channeling, the knowledge from there, from the plants.
Yeah.
And so all of that sort of gets combined into a session of whatever the person needs in that moment, whatever's for their highest good in that moment, and whatever's going to support them is
Yeah.
like so it's hard to sort of explain what it is. And I'm always like moved by it. And I get, what's different, Gia, is that like as a psychologist, like, you're sort of giving and you're the
Yeah.
expert.
Yeah.
And this is so different because I get out of the way because spirit is much,
Yeah. Yeah.
much more, much grander than me. And then I get transformed from the experience because I'll get the messages as well. And then I'm changed forever. And I'm just like, this is just incredible because not only is this healing for the person, but I'm expanded into a more of Kristen. And so it's like
Yeah.
it's incredible that
Yeah. It's a huge
I
gift.
get to do this work and I just,
Yeah.
like am blessed.
It's interesting because I've heard healers teach or spiritual teachers talk about in the past how when you channel, it like ages you and it lowers your vibe and stuff. And I've never had that experience.
Hmm. Hmm.
I always have like the same kind of experience where like I'm receiving as I'm giving, it's coming through me, obviously. Like, and I think it's really interesting that people even used to say that or think that because I also feel that like my students don't have that experience either.
Hmm.
Um, like I don't even, that makes me think that they're maybe not channeling something so great.
Mm,
if they feel like
hmm.
shit. I don't
Yeah,
know. I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
like,
yeah,
like if you
yeah.
don't feel good while you're doing your work, you're probably something's probably a little off. Like go, figure that out. But so I just think it's interesting to think about that. The other thing that
It
you and I
is.
talk about a lot that we like didn't really talk about today is like micro griefs. Um, and like how grief is such a part of like our everyday life, even though we really tend to focus on when we lose someone close to us, they
Yes, yes.
transition. Like one time we talked, you and I, about like the grief of parenthood and
Hmm.
how like
Hmm.
there are so many different grieves, like grieving moments. And I was saying how like, I mean, now I'm over the top with my kids, and I know that like probably a little too attached. Nah, but what I mean. It's a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
And so like I remember like when Jackson would like move out of like his 0 to 3 months, and I had to like put those clothes away and switch it to 3 to 6 months, I would like cry.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like, and he would grow out of them every couple months. I
Hmm.
would be like,
Hmm.
oh my God. Like, and of course I didn't do that with every subs, the first one kind of cracks you open, and then you start to like, I'm sure that's true with a lot of grief. Like you manage grief better as you understand it better and you work with it more, whatever, right?
Right,
As a
right.
kid, I wasn't crying when we were moving from size to size, but there's other things, that you're grieving like the loss of something or someone or like a time, and then you're getting back like something new. So it's like this like now I experience now I'm going to experience the 12-year-old version of Jackson. And that's something I've never had before. And that's a beautiful new blessing. But I have to grieve the past Jackson,
Yeah, yeah.
or Willow or Wolfgang. But,
Yes.
it's such a like juxtaposition of like feeling all the time. And there's
Yeah.
other things like that. Like there's your job or your relationship, your marriage, your car, I grieved my car. I had a car that I spent like my first car that I picked out for myself. It was like a symbol of my independence. I bought it with my own money where I was starting to like make good money in the world, and like it meant so much to me, and I had to give it up because
Yep.
of growing my family, ironically. Because it was like sporty. Still the best car ever. Her name was Chloe. And I'm gonna get her again one day in the future when I only am traveling less people. Um, and I grieved that.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, Julie said she grieved her car too. All right, there you go.
And you know
I'm
what?
not
It's
alone.
I love that about us, Gia, because we can talk about that. And any change is grief. And I love that we can always talk about grief because when I was doing my card pulls on Monday, I was talking about the holiday, Thanksgiving,
Oh
and
yeah.
how it's different than when you were children, or if the dynamic of the family is different, or it's like we're
Like we
always
just stopped having
grieving.
Thanksgiving a couple years ago at my mom's and switched to my sister-in-law, my brother.
Right, right.
And like that's fine. It's not like bad,
Yep,
but like there is
yep.
certainly grief to that. Like had
Yes,
it my mom's our whole life. We had so many like big family gatherings where people who were alive were there and they're not there anymore. And like
right.
it's so different, right? And like you're right. Like and my brother took his life the day after Thanksgiving
Mm.
11 years ago. So like it's always like a really charged holiday for my family, ever since that too.
I didn't know that. And then Preston transitioned the day after Thanksgiving. Yeah, I didn't realize that. So it's always like around. And like just to add one more piece to that, I remember when Andy moved in and we just started to like create our own bedroom and the dogs would always sleep in bed with me and then the dogs weren't sleeping in bed with me and I remember I could cry but I remember grieving it. Like I was so happy
Yeah,
that this
right?
love entered my life, but then I was sad that that moment of Annie, Juno and I, which was this like love triangle after Preston died and how they supported me. And I shared that. I was like, this is painful because it's painful for them too. But yet there's so much there's like that's the thing with grief. There can be pain and love. And so I love that about us, like because you're somebody that always shares like what's the grief piece. And I really appreciate that because to me, I can totally connect with that. Like, I really connect with that when people share that because to me, that's just truly fully living when we
Right.
can honor the sadness and letting go and also be open to like what's coming in.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's no light without shadow, right? And I
Right.
think, if we honor both, then we can have a more rich and embodied life.
Yeah.
And I also think that Pam says so true. If you feel things, you can literally be grieving all of the time. But if you
Yeah.
don't let yourself grieve, then it comes out in other ways. And I was going to say that. I was going to say, I think that being present with our emotions and recognizing them is a really important way to stay healthy.
Yes. Yes.
Because I feel like anything that's like suppressed or ignored turns into something toxic in our body. Um,
Absolutely.
so I
Absolutely.
feel like, my easy crying, like it's easy to make me cry. Um, or, it's easy to feel everything, like
Hmm.
whether that
Hmm.
feels good or bad at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it keeps me healthy. I think it keeps us all healthy to really like move through our emotions with authenticity and presence.
Yeah.
I think it makes a huge, I don't think people really underestimate how important that is.
Yes. Yeah. I agree with you. Yeah.
Since you've been open, have you been well more often? I bet you have.
Well, physically well, definitely,
Yep.
and just peaceful, like peaceful. Like when the anguish would come in, I'm like, oh, the anguish, like, and I would like allow it to be there. But I mean, I gotta say, I laugh more now than I've ever laughed. Like as a kid, and like there's so much joy, there's so much peace. And when there's sadness or there's like, there's something, it's like I feel it too. I definitely feel like the best I've ever felt. Like I feel like this is sort of like the healthiest version, like on every level
I,
than I've ever been.
that's beautiful. I mean, I think that's what Preston was trying to tell you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Here it is.
totally.
Preston.
Yep.
That's beautiful. That's a great place to end it. So
Yeah.
okay, well,
Yeah.
let's wrap it up. Thank you so much, everyone, for
Yes.
coming. Thank you, Kristen. So much fun.
Thank you, Gia.
Where
This
can
was
people
amazing.
find you if they want to do multidimensional healing work, grief work, plant work? Where
Yep. So, yogashrink.com, and that's got, everything. I got retreats coming up, all sorts of fun things. So they can check that out. I appreciate that so
Awesome.
much, Gia. Thank
Of
you.
course, of course. Thank you. All right, everybody, take care. Thanks again.
Bye. Thank you.